After learning from the first attempt at constructing the wire framework, I wired in pre-made legs from card holders to give the chair stability and balance. The neater spirals created a lovely rhythm, swirling up into the legs. I secured everything by folding the aluminium wire back onto itself, then pressing it down tightly with pliers. This stopped any sharp wire edges from tearing the paper or scratching a hand when lifted, and it also held all the separate pieces in place. The parts were made individually: the backrest, the square seat, and the 4 legs. The main attachment method for the paper was staples, because the only glue I had on hand was floral cold glue, and that needs time and pressure to stick. With the amount of paper pieces I was using, that would have taken forever, so staples were the quickest and most secure option. The seat had 4 layers of paper to make it strong enough for the floral materials and to give it a plush, padded look like a real chair. The backrest only had 2 layers because it has less strength. It is attached by only its 2 ends, whereas the seat is supported by 4 solid legs. Most of the spare paper I had was small, which used a lot of staples but actually worked perfectly for the seat. Each piece was just long enough to wrap over the top and slightly past the wireframe, so I could fold the paper underneath and staple it down to secure it. For the backrest, I used a single large piece of paper, because using lots of small ones would have looked messy and made the staples harder to hide on both the front and back. To add more technique and bring in a 3-dimensional area to hold plant materials, I folded 8 local choice magazine pages into cones, then stapled all the bottom points together. The top edges were stapled under a fold so the fan held its shape while keeping the staple hidden. I also folded a chocolate wrapper into a heart and attached it over the bottom section of the fan. The heart hid the untidy points of the cones and added a cute element that matched where it would eventually sit. This fan heart was glued over the printed heart on the backrest to make that detail stand out and double as a plant material holder. I added a crown cut from a Candy Kitten advent calendar to the top edge to hide the visible wire inside the magazine pages and to bring in a spiky texture. It immediately made the whole piece look more interesting than the straight, flat edge that was there before. The squares on the seat were made using an origami fortune teller pattern. To add extra interest, I glued the diagonally opposite squares wrong side down, which changed the shape and direction of the folds. The plant material needed to be kept light because the design was already very busy. Everything was secured down with floral adhesive tack, which held it all firmly. The China grass incorporated a few leaf manipulation techniques I had learned earlier. At the top, it was folded to create 2 loops, followed by a zigzag fold made using 2 grasses twisted over each other to look like a spring, and then finished with a single loop. This added variety in form and made the design more visually interesting. Overall, the design is busy and polychromatic. It could be improved by making the crown shorter or placing it slightly higher to create a gap above the fan heart. The brown paper bag used for the seat worked really well, because it helped the magazine section stand out without distracting the eye. The backrest would have looked better with a paper bag too, since the brown background would make the origami fan heart pop more. The design has both actual and visual balance and can be viewed from all angles, though the front is definitely the strongest viewpoint. It is very secure and can be moved around without anything falling apart. All parts of the structure hold firmly. This decorative, asymmetric design is definitely not commercial, but it would suit events like flower shows or competitions where more unusual or experimental projects are encouraged. The folded rose petals between the origami squares create a little path for the eye to follow, though this would have been even better if the path could run horizontally through the squares like I originally intended. The squares ended up slightly too big for that to work. The spring element on the crown would also look good mirrored on the seat, as that would spread the texture and form more evenly. Its main purpose was to hide the staple behind it and add another interesting technique to the design. All the plant material used will dry, although the rose petals will darken in color as they do. For a design that started as a joke, it actually turned out really well. It is just a bit too busy, mainly because the magazine papers clash with each other.